Transfer seasons are always crucial for a football club's development. In some cases, a team can come out of it stronger than ever before, but there are always those clubs that instead of using that window as an opportunity to improve, they do the complete opposite. So in this video, I've decided to take a closer look at 5 particularly dumb market moves that could have serious repercussions for all involved. Starting out at number 5 with Chelsea's goalkeeper obsession. Now, we all know that at this point, Chelsea could easily make 2 different teams, one for the Championship and another for League One. It's clear that their strategy is more about treating players like assets in the stock market that might gain value over time, but I really don't know what they hope to achieve by having 6 goalkeepers in the squad. This reminds me of when I used to play online soccer manager and I would just buy random cheap goalkeepers to sell them for a profit. But in Chelsea's case, there's no way they'll have any profit with this brain-dead idea. If a keeper doesn't play or is forced into a loan despite being over 25, he'll logically lose value over time. Besides, as of the time I'm making this video, no keeper has left. They could easily make some money with Kepa or Sanchez, loan out Bergstrom and keep the other 3, but instead, they're shooting themselves in the foot once again. Next up, we have Barcelona's unwillingness to replace Lewandowski. Look, I know he scored in Barca's first match, but that doesn't mean Los Culés should expect him to carry the club to a La Liga title, especially when the competition got so much stronger this year. I'm not saying they should just get rid of him, because they don't have an efficient alternative in the club and they're too broke to find an equally capable replacement, but the way they're handling business is as stupid as they come. They splurged 55 million euros on Olmo, whose brilliant Euro campaign had more to do with the fact that he hadn't played much last season than with his own individual quality. After all, he wasn't even a surefire starter in Leipzig, and to make it worse, Barca already possesses several good players for his position. Victor Roque is another puzzling case. They spent 40 million euros on a striker when never even set foot in Europe, and now they're already trying to get rid of him. To sum it up, if Leva gets injured or declines more rapidly, Barca is essentially fucked. Unfortunately, Barca isn't the only Catalonian club shooting themselves in the foot. After a remarkable podium finish last season, Girona is apparently trying to undo all the work they did. Starting up front, they lost their top goal scorer for only 30 million euros and replaced him with a bench player from Braga. On the wings, they had to let Savinho go to Man City and they replaced him with a Tottenham reject. In midfield, Girona lost arguably the heart of the squad in Alex Garcia and also Barcelona loanee Eric Garcia. And who did they bring in? An aging Oriol Romeu and one of the most notorious Man United flops in recent history, Donny van de Beek. In defense, they didn't do as bad, and I'm genuinely interested to see what Ladislav Krejci has to show on a bigger stage. But considering they'll be playing in Europe and that most La Liga clubs will be more prepared to face them, this season has disaster written all over it. But hey, that's the price you gotta pay when you sell your soul to the City Football Group. Staying in the Iberian Peninsula, we've got yet another club trying everything in their power to keep themselves firmly out of the title race. Benfica has garnered an impressive reputation for having an excellent scouting department and always selling their gems for a high price. But here's the thing, this season Rui Costa has been making wrong decision after wrong decision. The most shocking one was renewing Di Maria's contract and keeping him as one of the highest earners in the club. That isn't necessarily wrong, but it directly led to the departure of Joao Neves. Benfica couldn't afford to raise his salary, so he left for PSG to receive 10 times more than what he did at Benfica, but for half the price of his release clause. And for the 3rd consecutive season, Benfica has accepted yet another banged up player from PSG, this time the former golden boy Renato Sanches. These moves might not seem too shocking for your Premier League desensitized brain, but my point is that Benfica has been making terrible decisions for quite a while now. For every Gonçalo Ramos or Joao Felix that Benfica is able to greatly capitalize on, there are a bunch of overpriced players that Benfica is never able to turn into a profit. And the only reason they haven't suffered as many consequences is that their rivals, up until very recently, were in bad financial shape. But the power dynamics in Portuguese football are changing, and it isn't far-fetched to believe that Benfica could be in for a crisis period like the one they went through in the 90s. Lastly, I won't be talking about a club in particular, but instead about another terrible career move by Joao Felix. After burning every possible bridge with Los Colchoneros, Felix went on 2 unsuccessful loans to 2 clubs in disarray, Chelsea and Barca. Barca was actually his dream club, and I'm sure he would have loved to stay, but his 10 goals across 44 matches didn't convince a financially struggling Barca to invest in him. Continuity in the Spanish capital was unlikely, but there were two valid options on the table that would surely have been more interesting than joining the most erratic club in the Premier League. He could have gone to Benfica, the only club that despite all his mishaps still loves him dearly, or to Aston Villa, a team with an interesting project where he would be able to play behind a striker. But no, Felix preferred to tie himself again to a long-term deal in a club that will most likely struggle to even make it to Europe. It's really sad. I was hoping that Felix could at least match Quaresma, but the more I pay attention to him, the more I feel like he'll go down in history as the biggest Portuguese flop of all time. And that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you disagree with any of my takes, feel free to tell me why in the comments below. And finally, I want to thank those who always stick until the end and never fail a single video. I see you guys, and I really appreciate your support. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.